Right with you in just a few moments. Just bear with us, please.
The Milltek Sports Civic Cup here at Brands Hatch then about to get their first of 3 races away, and it's set to be a real thriller this, the first dry race of the year, only the second race actually of the season after their season opener was cancelled. Well, they had one race at Cadwell Park, the second race was cancelled because of bad weather. Thankfully, at the moment, touch wood, that is not an issue here today. Qualifying this morning saw Matt Luff get his maiden pole position in the category with Jamie Tonks second place on the grid, repeating the place he finished actually in that one race that we got in at Cadwell Park. The championship leader, Alistair Camp, is third on the grid with George Alt Williams in 4th position. There are 2 classes of car. We have the Cup class cars, they're the quick ones at the front of the field, the proper race prepared Civics. Then we have the production class, which has 9 entrants this weekend. Obviously those cars are a little bit closer to the production spec. They're not on the pace of the Cup cars, although there are 1 or 2 of the Cup cars that qualified behind the leading production runners. Mervyn Beckett and Peter Dell set to have a ding-dong battle for the victories in that class, I reckon. Mervyn got the class pole in production by just 55 1/1000ths of a second after qualifying this morning. The championship positions, of course, based on that one race result that we've had so far at Cadwell Park. It was Alistair Camp on your screen there who took the victory at a wet and windy Cadwell Park. And look at that, the windscreen wipers are on. He's not the only one that's got those wipers on either. Is it starting to rain outside, I wonder? Just a few spots, I wonder, which might just add a bit of extra spice to the mix. Here's the grid then. Matt will be Jamie Tonks, Alistair Camp and George Alt Williams on row 2, with Dan Thackeray and Dave Buki on the 3rd row. Phil Wright is on row 4 alongside Morgan Bailey, and then rounding out the top 10 we've got Ryan Bensley and Rob Butler, who's making his first racing start in 4 years and his first ever start in the Civic Cup. Did well to qualify in the top 10. Ross Darlington and Bradley Lane are together on the 6th row of the grid, and then on row 7 Chris Mullen and Martin Dalzell, and then 15th place on the grid will be Paul McHugh. Now he was one of the lower qualifying Cup entrants. He'll be on that 7th row with the production pole sitter, Mervyn Beckett. Purple number there for Mervyn because he's in the production class. Peter Dell next on the grid is also a production runner. Then you've got Simon Waite, who's actually running in Cup but was out-qualified by the top 2 production runners. The 10th row of the grid is an all-production affair. Alfie Threlfall and Mark Hughes together, 19th and 20th overall on the grid, but 3rd and 4th in production, with Ben Mills and Harry Threlfall, a Cup driver, ahead of a production runner. Then the last 4 runners all in production. Simon Welch moving over from the BMW Compact Cup from rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive this year. Reese Lewis is with him on the 12th row, with Matthew Stenning and Nick Charlier at the back of the grid. 26 cars then hopefully set to take the start of the race. Now there was supposed to be a 27th, which you can see at the back there was Ben Sharp. Now Ben had an engine issue in qualifying. He is at the back of the grid though, so that car that's starting last on the grid definitely worth keeping an eye on, because that is a regular front runner in Civic racing. Ben Sharp making a return to the championship. I don't think he's doing a full season campaign, but Ben Sharp is a race winner before in Honda Civics, and if they've got that engine working, then he should be pretty quick. It was an engine, I think he was saying an engine that came out of Dave Buki's car from the previous event at Cadwell Park. So Ben Sharp looking to try and move forward, having not set any times in qualifying. He has to start from the back, but he will at least be there in the race. So Matt Luff then, the silver and fluorescent yellow Area Motorsport number 72 car on pole, with the black and gold Fast R liveried car there of Jamie Tonks. There is Ben Sharp, great to see him out there. A really, really good looking car that as well. BSR on the side of the car, that's the British Sim Racers organisation that Ben is heavily involved in, organising lots of sim racing competitions, which a lot of real world drivers and even the odd real world commentator dabble in. Really good fun championship if you're interested in getting involved in sim racing. Ben, a real fan of sim racing, but a very successful real world racer as well. So, Matt Luff, as I said, and Jamie Tonks on row 1. Alistair Camp, the championship leader, is third, with George Alp Williams. Both of those jumped up the order quite late in qualifying, actually, after a slightly sluggish start to the session. Dan Thackeray and Dave Buki on the third row. Buki wasn't particularly happy with his setup after qualifying, so I'm sure they've made a few changes to the car. In preparation of this, a 15-minute second round of the Milltek Sports Civic Cup for 2021. Matt Luff and Jamie Tonks making up that front row of the grid. The eyes towards the starting gantry now. The red lights go on. They go out now. We're away and racing here at Brands Hatch, and it's a good start made from the pole position there by Matt Luff. Jamie Tonks is away decently from second as well, and the field rushes towards Paddock Hill Bend. Incredible aerial shots we're getting here on the live pictures of the field heading into Paddock Hill Bend and plunging downhill through the dip, and there's a sideways moment for Phil Wright. I think that is in the midfield. What a beautiful save that was. Phil Wright from the fourth row of the grid will have lost a bit of ground, but he was lucky just to stay on the track there and not get collected by the cars behind him. So out through Druids they go. It's Luff that leads. It is Tonks second, Camp third. Fourth is no longer George Alp Williams. That looks like Dan Thackeray is up into fourth now. The Welsh youngster down a position into fifth, and Phil Wright is sideways again there on cold tyres. Phil does not look happy here in the early stages of the race. Up through Surtees they go. There's Ryan Dalzell, and looking back for the other yellow car. Oh, Bradley Lane all sideways as well through Surtees. If it's a little bit damp out there, then these opening laps in particular are going to be fairly treacherous before they get the temperature into the tyres. Dan Thackeray's got some temperature in his tyres though, because not content with fourth, he's now challenging for third, going up the inside of Alistair Camp, the championship leader, as they go door handle to door handle into Paddock Hill Bend. Almost a bit of contact between the two of them there. Over the curbs goes the green and white number 29 machine. Camp somehow hanging on around the outside, but Thackeray's got the inside line again at Druids. No, Camp shuts the door in his face, hangs on to P3, but Alistair looks like he's under a lot of pressure here. Runs wide again coming out of Druids there, so Dan Thackeray gets the run down the hill, but there's nowhere for him to go. George Alp Williams behind him in fifth, then it is David Buki with Morgan Bailey seventh, and eighth position for Rob Butler. Peter Dell, by the way, has got himself ahead of Mervyn Beckett for the production class lead, so we might see some of those cars there. You can see just in the background the yellow car of Beckett second in class behind the darker coloured car of Peter Dell. There goes Ben Sharp, so Ben Sharp is already up into 14th, that might now be 13th place, because I think he's found the way past the 28 machine now of Chris Mullen. Yes, he has, so that's another place gained by Ben Sharp as he continues this charge towards the front. He's cleared the production runners pretty quickly, and now he's battling against cars in the same class as himself. 2 laps in the book then. Luff has a 3/4 of a second lead over Jamie Tonks. Alistair Camp is still third, ahead of Dan Thackeray. Thackeray technically was ahead of him at the line a lap ago, so it's showing as a positional change, but Alistair Camp was ahead in reality. Slow car I can see out of the window as well. Looks like it's the number 44 of Rhys Lewis, who possibly has a mechanical issue. Hazard lights are on for him as he heads into Paddock Hill Bend. Into Surtees they go. You can see the lead that Matt Luff is building up here. It looks like Jamie Tonks, though, is in danger of slipping back into the clutches here of Alistair Camp. So that second place battle is starting to develop quite nicely as the field works its way through. There is Rhys Mullen Chris Mullen, excuse me, in the number 28 car, chasing after Ben Sharp. Across the line they go then. Tonks to Camp is the gap I was watching, and yeah, it comes down by about 3/10 that time. So Alistair Camp there, the grey car with the pink and yellow flashes, is catching Jamie Tonks ahead of him for second. Thackeray dropping back now into the clutches of George Alp Williams as well. And in fact, it's wheel to wheel there for third as they go through Druids Corner. Camp to the outside, trying to get the inside for Graham Hill Bend. For second place this is, excuse me, with Jamie Tonks in the Fast R Civic, just about fending him off. Hops over the curbs does Jamie Tonks. Really aggressive run there through Graham Hill Bend. They're about to catch the slowing car of Rhys Lewis. Let's hope Rhys is watching his mirrors, because that black car is clearly off the pace with its mystery mechanical issue. Through goes the cup field, waiting for the production runners to come through. It's the number 89 car, the black car, look, that leads the class. Mervyn Beckett, the yellow machine, right behind him, fighting for second place there, or fighting in second place, with third place Alfie Threlfall and fourth position for Mark Hughes. Mervyn Beckett was the winner at Cadwell Park, and he's looking now to try and get up the inside. He's over the curb, he's got an overlap, has he, coming out of Clearways, and through Clark Curve? No, Peter Dell closes the door just about in time, and so Peter Dell hangs on to the production lead, but the racing in production at the moment even closer than what we've got at the head of the Cup class field, at the very front of the order. Into paddock they go then, Dell hanging on, Mervyn Beckett behind Dell with a bit of a lock-up there maybe going into Paddock Hill Bend. Just got the car stopped though. Back to the Cup runners now. This is the number 20 machine going up the inside at Graham Hill Bend. That's Ross Darlington on Ryan Dalzell, and the rapid Ben Sharp jinks from the outside to the inside out of Graham Hill Bend to get up the inside of Darlington into the left-hander at Surtees. There's contact, is there? Darlington sideways, he's on the grass. The grill will be full of grass now, and Ross Darlington's not going to be too happy about that. Ben Sharp went for the move, but the door was always likely to close, and unfortunately it was Darlington that ended up coming off worse from that. So Ben Sharp gains the place, but might have a case to answer after the race, and that's Peter Dell from the lead of the production class. Peter Dell is off at Druids, and that is real misfortune then. There's damage to the left front corner of the car. Now he was racing, remember, with Mervyn Beckett. Not sure if there was contact, but he certainly doesn't look happy about something. See if we can piece that one together over the next few minutes or two. Now, with that car in a dangerous position, we might end up here with a safety car. We've had some changing at the front of the order, though, I noticed. Second place there, look. That is no longer Jamie Tonks in second. Alistair Camp has taken second, and Dan Thackeray has gone with him. Thackeray from fifth on the grid is into third position now as we come through to complete the sixth lap of the race. Thackeray runs wide, though. He's on the gravel there, and Tonks might get back up the inside, but he's not allowed to overtake there because there was a yellow flag. The car that had spread that gravel was still in a dangerous position. Now it's green flag racing though, so Tonks can go on the attack, and he claims that third place going into Paddock Hill Bend, and he'll be a bit disappointed now to have lost a bit of touch with the leading two. Alistair Camp, by the way, having taken that second place away from Jamie Tonks, was a tenth quicker than the leader last time, but 1.6 seconds is the margin between first and second. Then a further 2 seconds back to the Tonks-Thackeray battle for third, with George Alt Williams keeping a watching brief there in fifth. Dave Buki likewise in sixth position. I noticed that Alfie Threlfall, by the way, is now into the production class lead, so there must have been contact between Mervyn Beckett and Peter Dell, because they've both been delayed. Obviously Dell is out of the race, Beckett's lost the lead. Wouldn't mind getting a look at that yellow number 32 car, actually, see if there's any damage to Mervyn Beckett's car. That might help piece together this story as to what happened up at Druids Corner. No sign of a safety car then, despite these cars that are starting to litter the side of the Brands Hatch Indy circuit then. At the moment we've got a car off at Druids, we've got a car off at Clearways, but once the drivers have been warned about the cars in dangerous positions, the marshals may well choose to bring the yellow flags in. You can see they have. There are no yellow flags at Druids anymore. The same is true at Clearways. So there is Alistair Camp then in second position. 1.6 seconds the gap to the leader. On the previous lap he was another 3/4 of a tenth quicker. So he is faster than Matt Love, but not that much faster. Matt, former Mazda MX-5 front runner in Mark 1 Mazda MX-5s, making quite a big transition now from rear-wheel drive Mark 1 Mazda MX-5s into these front-wheel drive pocket rocket tin tops. Very different style of car to drive, but still really close racing, and that is something he's certainly grown accustomed to over recent years. Alistair Camp, that time, by the way, 4/10 quicker than Matt Love. So that time it was a pretty significant shrinking of the lead gap there. So Love is only 1.2 seconds clear now of Camp. This is for third place, Tonks, Thackeray and George Alt Williams. In the production class, Mervyn Beckett is closing back in on Alfie Threlfall as well, so the battle for production is about to reignite after it reached boiling point, it seems, between Beckett and Dell a few laps ago. So there go the Cup runners through Surtees. At the top of the screen, you can just see the production trio going down through the dip coming out of Paddock Hill Bend. Ben Sharp there diving up the inside of a slower runner. Ben Sharp is up into the top 10 now, 10th place, but that contact he had with Ross Darlington might well lead to a discussion post-race. The car that's off at Clearways appears to be Rhys Lewis, who was going slowly anyway. I'm not entirely sure how he ended up in the gravel trap, but Rhys is the only other car that we've lost by the looks of it, with Phil Wright having had a pit stop a few laps down, but everybody else, I think, is still running. So the third place battle then makes its way around Druid's corner. The race leader heads down the back straight, which is Matt Luff, of course, with Alistair Camp not that far behind him. They're just turning into Surtees now. In fact, there they go. There goes Luff, there goes Camp, and there goes the third place train. Matt Luff for Area Motorsport. This has been a really, really strong performance. He was fourth at Cadwell in a race that everyone was quite grateful just to get to the end of. And that was his first ever taste of Civic Cup competition. And now here in the dry at Brands Hatch, he is going to be tough to beat. The previous lap he was quicker than Alistair Camp, so he's responding now to Camp's increase of pace over recent laps. He's another 10th and a half quicker that time, so the gap is no longer shrinking. It is now going back out again between the top two. Simon Welch there about to be lapped. Having come out of the BMW Compact Cup ranks, another driver making the rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive switch, and running in the production class as well, which just gives the drivers a slightly more cost-effective way of getting into the championship without having to spend an absolute fortune to go racing, but still enjoying really close competition, as we've seen with Alfie Threlfall and Mervyn Beckett still separated by, 7/10 of a second. Oh, that's a shame. Rob Butler is out on his return to racing. Hasn't raced anything for 4 years. The last time he did race was over in his native Ireland, where he raced in the Irish touring cars and the Irish Seat Leon Championship. Also did some single-seater racing before that, but Rob Butler has also been doing a bit of Civic Cup sim racing in recent months over lockdowns and such. Pretty successfully so as well, it must be said. Unfortunately, though, he is out of the race at the moment. So things just settling down a little bit now at the front. This 2.5 second gap between Luff and Camp. Tonks and Thackeray, third and fourth, are also separating. With George Alt Williams, again, dropping back from them too in 5th place. Dave Buki likewise in 6th, so a lot of them really struggling for pace a bit now over the second half of the race. There goes George Alt Williams, around the outside of Simon Welch. So Alfie Threlfall then, still leading this production class battle. Trying to figure out where he is on track. I think they're somewhere in the first sector, maybe. Half a second the margin between those two. So that's the battle that's more likely to come to life here, I think, as far as class victories are concerned. Alfie Threlfall and Mervyn Beckett are just behind these two cars, I think. That's Phil Wright, who's back out from the pit lane after those moments that he had on the opening lap. Behind him, Paul McHugh. And then, yeah, the next car behind the number 9 should be the production leader, Alfie Threlfall, with the yellow car of Mervyn Beckett tucked up not far behind him. There they come. They've got a silver car just ahead of them, but the black car is the class leader. And actually Mervyn Beckett dropping away slightly on that lap by a 10th or so. But of course now they've got this little bit of traffic to deal with. That might just start to come back in his favour. Behind them in 3rd position, 56.9 there for 5.9, sorry, for Hughes, was actually a personal best lap for Mark Hughes. Production class being led by Mervyn Beckett. It was Alfie Threlfall that was 2nd at Cadwell, so actually if it finishes this way, they'll be tied for the championship lead after admittedly only 2 races, but it will have been a 1st and a 2nd place finish for both of them. They've got a now 6-second cushion over Hughes in 3rd, so not much chance of Mark Hughes getting into this battle. But of course he's already inherited 3rd place after that issue for Peter Dell. I'm trying to look to see if there's any damage on the front of Mervyn Beckett's yellow number 32 car, which might indicate the fact there was some contact between Beckett and Dell. I have to imagine there may well have been, because the damage that was done to the front of Peter Dell's car tells me he'd been off the road in quite some fashion. That usually happens if you've been given a little bit of an assistance. Oh, Mervyn Beckett really closing in there through Druid, so he's all of a sudden right back on the tail of Threlfall. This gap was 0.6 of a second 2 corners ago. It's now probably less than half that as they come down through Graham Hill Bend. They will trigger the end of Sector 1 timing beam shortly, so we'll be able to compare their sector times. Threlfall and Beckett, through they go. And, well, Beckett actually only a 1/10 of a second quicker that time. Penalty, 5-second penalty for George Alt Williams for not respecting track limits. That's the 4th place number 5 car. That is a shame for George, who was really unfortunate to miss out on a podium at Cadwell. When he went off, there was a gearbox issue coupled with the torrential rain, which saw him fly off the road into the barriers just before the red flag came out. So a non-finish for George at Cadwell, and now a 5-second penalty here, which is going to drop him a good few positions. He's got a 1.7-second lead over Dave Buki at the moment, but then Buki has Thackeray and Morgan Bailey right behind him, so that's at least 3 places that George Alt Williams is going to lose as a result of a 5-second track limits penalty. If you exceed track limits by going over the edge of the white lines or over the back edge of the red and white painted curbs, you get a number of warnings for that, but then at some point 5 and then 10 and then even 15-second penalties can be applied. If you keep doing it, you can be disqualified from the race altogether. Thankfully, with less than a minute left on the clock in this race, that shouldn't be the case. Race leader Matt Luff working his way through traffic into clearway. He's about to start the final lap of this second race of the Milltek Sport Civic Cup. There's no other word to describe this than dominant, really. He has been uncatchable in this one. Alistair Camp was a little bit quicker than him in the middle portion of the race, but the gap's up to nearly 4 seconds now between Alistair and the race leader Matt Luff, who turns into Paddock Hill Bend then in the number 72 car, the grey and yellow car that leads the way. 3.2 seconds the gap over Alistair Camp, who is 0.7 of a second clear of Jamie Tonks in third. So it's all pretty static at the head of the field. The production battle still raging on, but Mervyn Beckett, having already maybe had some contact with Peter Dell, I doubt he's going to want to take a major risk here. There he goes, look, through Surtees. Still pushing on though, but I don't think he's close enough yet to attack. As they disappear from view, there goes the race leader Matt Luff then into the final couple of corners in only his second ever race in the Milltek Sport Civic Cup. Matt Luff is going to be a race winner here at Brands Hatch. Round number 2 of the championship is going to go the way of car number 72. Matt Luff wins here at Brands Hatch and wins in commanding style. Second place is going to go the way of Alistair Camp. Some good championship points go his way after a win at Cadwell Park. A second place here will certainly suit him quite well. Jamie Tonks was actually chasing him down there towards the end, less than a second between them at the flag, with George Alt Williams 5 seconds back in 4th, but Alt Williams with this 5-second penalty is going to drop down to at least 7th, maybe 8th, and a shout out to the 8th place finisher there, Ben Sharp, from the back of the grid in an untested engine. Really impressive stuff. Now the production battle is still raging. It looks as though Alfie Threlfall's going to hang on. You can see them at the top of the screen there going through Surtees. Alfie Threlfall, the black car, the yellow of Mervyn Beckett. There they go, turning into the final corner. Unless there's a mistake here for Alfie Threlfall, it looks as though he's going to come home a race winner in the Production Cup to tie Mervyn Beckett now, provisionally at least, for the championship lead. But there may be a case to be answered here for Mervyn Beckett once we get to the bottom of what happened to Peter Dell. So an entertaining race there, the second round of the Milltek Sport Civic Cup. They'll have 2 more races tomorrow, which I'll be here to talk you through. But now I'm going to head down to the pit lane and have a word with our race winners.
Thanks, Andy. While he heads downstairs, let's just take a look at these results again in that case. So our winner then, Matt Luff, having started in pole, there we go. He's also finished in first place, ahead of Alistair Camp, Jamie Tonks, George Alp Williams, Dave Buki, Dan Thackeray, Morgan Bailey, Ben Sharp, Ryan Bensley, and Martin Dalzell. That's our top 10. Then we have, if you're looking on your screens as well, you can see the numbers are all jumbled up. Don't worry about those. We'll look at something else. We've got the next positions are Lane from Mullen, from Darlington, from McHugh in Cup. Then we've got Waite, Wright, and Butler. Those are our Cup finishers. Let's just look at the production class then. And first in production for now, again, do bear in mind these are provisional results. We have Alfie Threlfall having won the production class ahead of Mervyn Beckett. And then third in production class and 18th overall, we have Mark Hughes. And then we have another Threlfall, Harry Threlfall. And then we have let's have a look. Then we have Welch from Stenning, from Dell, from Lewis, and those are our production finishers. Congratulations to everybody. Thank you very much to Andy for some great commentary there. Very, very gripping stuff, I think, as you know, some really close and fascinating racing as the Civic Cup always tends to yield. So that's been great fun to watch. And hopefully we'll be able to hear from our podium finishers shortly. You can see on your screens, actually no, I can see a different camera to what you guys can, but you've got the Parc Fermé set up with the board for first place, and second place, and third place. Obviously these cars do need to go through Parc Fermé just to make sure that they are all complying with the necessary rules. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see, especially what Matt Luff has to say. From what I understand, this could well be his first win in the Milltek Sports Civic Cup. So it'll be interesting to see his reflections on this race, to hear a little bit more about what he's got to say. Just watching the cameras now to see if if we're gonna do any interviews. Just try to see how that goes. Of course, we do have more events to look forward to this evening, and of course, we do have more Milltek Sports Civic Cup action tomorrow as well, in the form of Race 2 and Race 3. Oh my goodness, batteries flying all over the place in the commentary box. You can see a car being recovered there on your screen. This is the number 44 machine. As driven by Reese Lewis.